going on, you guys? Welcome to The Script. I'm your host, Isaac Paul. I always like to begin with a bit of a description of what the script is. So the script is the digital kind of like counterpart manifestation of the Tequila Tales. Now, what is the Tequila Tales? The Tequila Tales is a fully engaging and highly, just how do I even say it? Because I always have a way that I go into describing what the Tequila Tales is, but really what the Tequila Tales is an experience, right? So it is a discussion about love and relationships and life as a whole. But what we try to do from show to show or event to event is, our motto is with love, we all have a story to tell. And so our goal is not to be the professionals, it's not a panel discussion, it's an open conversation, and it's an opportunity for like-minded individuals and sometimes not so like-minded individuals to kind of interact, and to uh share and to kind of go back and forth about a wide array of different topics. When you think about what love and relationships are, it's not just about who should pay for the first date. In many cases, it's about how we relate to one another, right? And with this particular platform, with our collaboration with blackdoctor.org, which has been fantastic thus far, I thought that it was just a very seamless collaboration, considering what blackdoctor.org represents, which is Black health. Well, health and wellness overall, but specifically for individuals that are looking for people of color as a healthcare provider or healthcare practitioner. One of the things that we understand is that one of the major issues that you hear a lot of inside of the healthcare space is that there's a lot of assumptions that can occur, right? There's a lot of issues that may happen where our needs can at times be overlooked. And it's not necessarily because of any nefarious, means, but really what it is that sometimes people that look like you, sometimes people that share a similar background or similar cultural experience can understand you in a way that others cannot, right? And so there are times where individuals just feel a little more comfortable if they are seeing a healthcare practitioner that understands them a little bit better. And so what blackdoctor.org attempts to do is to align you with those healthcare practitioners. And so, when we talk about health and we talk about Black health specifically, one of the things that often gets overlooked is our emotional health. And so this is why I thought that this collaboration made so much sense. Now, with that being said, this is going to be an interesting, show. So from show to show, we've been kind of coloring outside the lines. Sometimes I have a lot of structure. Sometimes I have completely no structure. I had initially intended on having like an election day, special. I was going to have like pundits, similar to like CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, like call different people up. And I will say this much: if you are watching this right now and you want to jump on this live with me, let me know. I'll put it in the thread, right? and, and you all, we can go back and forth. But right now, man, this is an interesting time, right? Matter of fact, for the 15 people that are watching live right now and potentially more. Oh, I should also say that this is being streamed on multiple platforms. So you might be the only one that's sitting on that particular platform that you're watching. But just know that if you make a comment or you share something, I have the ability to not only see your comments, but post them in response. So I want this to be as interactive as possible. And hey, listen, if one of you all want to hop on here with me, I have the ability to send you all a link and, we can get busy. But just know that I scrapped the rundown. Because I don't know, man. It's just, we are in a day and age right now where there's just a lot of different stuff that's going on. And knowing that I was doing an election night show, it's like, okay, what could I do that adds value, that's substantive? Because I'm pretty certain that on some level, all of us are exhausted, regardless of what candidate you support. We're all a little exhausted. You know what I mean? one of the things that I think was a benefit about the way that Kamala assumed the front runner position was, yeah, there's a lot of people that say, well, we don't know her. But you know what? 3 months is more than enough time to get to know your candidate. Some of these people, man, they have been campaigning for years, and it is just exhausting. It's so freaking exhausting. And so on one level, tonight is kind of like the climax of that. But on another level, I'm looking forward to just moving the hell on with wherever we go, right? Are we going to preserve democracy? Or are we going to have a shit show of entertainment for the next 4 years? Like I said, again, who you vote for is who you vote for. And I kind of, sort of, but not really respect it either way. But, it is what it is. As long as you are, as long as you are as a citizen, exercising your civic duty, I do think that that is important, right? I do think that we have gotten to a space where we can be a little apathetic about the process, and that to me is a little concerning. And I get it, right? Because I was a conspiracy theorist before it became popular to be one, right? So I understand the frustration that some people feel when you know that these politicians, in many cases, are just blowing a lot of smoke, and you feel like there's very little that happens on the ground level that you personally see. And so I can understand what can lead to that apathy, but I think the way that I always challenge it is just, they're going through great lengths to suppress your vote. And so for individuals to act like it doesn't have value, that to me is when I say, okay, these two things don't measure up. Because why do they go through great lengths to suppress your vote if your vote really doesn't matter? And so I understand if you feel like I'm just a speck in a sea full of hundreds of millions of other people that are going to vote. I can understand how it can kind of feel like, but excuse me, the reality of it is that, exercising that right means something, because we do live in a country that honors that, and I know that that's something that people can debate me on. I know that people feel like, when it comes to the electorate college, that, who's elected president isn't really an accurate representation of who the people selected. And you know what? I can agree with that, right? But I do still think that there's something special about people exercising their civic duty and doing something that so many of us, specifically, and by us I mean Black people specific, I'm talking to Black people now, so many of our ancestors died for, right? To me, it's a desecration for us to get so flippant about it that we're just like, I'm not going to exercise it, because one thing I know for certain is that if they took that shit away, we would be in an uprising. We'd have an uprising, and not just from the voters, but even the non-voters, right? Like, sometimes people don't care about things until it gets taken away. Inside of, like, even a relationship front, it's almost like you don't appreciate something until it's gone. It's that type of a thing. Like, you fight for something the moment that you realize it's slipping away, but while it's there, you're very flippant and kind of nonchalant about it. I feel like that's what voting is that we've gotten very apathetic about our vote. And when you look at the final totals, it's normally less than half of the registered, voting age citizens of America that ends up participating in this process. And you think to yourself, man, what happens if 100% were to participate? Like, what would this world look like? Like, I'm not even going as far as to say that the candidates would be very different, but what I think would happen is that you would have a much more honest approach to how even they campaign, right? But that's neither here nor there, because I can wax poetic about that, because there's sometimes where I do feel like there's a benefit, right, in the fact that you do have to hop through a couple of hoops. Now, I don't like it when they suppress votes, but I do like the fact that you do have to hop through a couple of hoops in order to do it, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I read the comment section on social media sites. And I'm gonna be real. Some of y'all, I feel, are not qualified to vote. It is your right, and therefore you deserve to be able to do it. But man, some of the things that y'all are saying, I'm like, man, I'm glad that they force you to hop through hoops, right? Because I feel like the biggest people that are that have the loudest bullhorns, that's talking the most crap online, are people that are either A, not registered, or B, don't even participate in the process, right? And so that in and of itself is a little creative to me when I really think about it. It's like, you all can talk a lot of shit, but if you don't believe in the system, then you're not going to participate in the system. And so therefore you should not have any say so on who gets elected, right? Like, when people say your vote doesn't matter, I say to myself, like, nah, some people are getting something for their vote. People are like, well, man, but what did Obama do for you? Now, that's a whole nother topic. And I can give you a list of things that he did for me and for Black people and for all of Americans. But again, that's neither here nor there. But when people say that, I say to myself, how involved in the process are you? Because I guarantee you that some people are exercising not only their vote, but their voice. They're getting something for their vote, right? Like, it's almost like when you think about Karens. You know what? Real quick, I'm rambling at this point, but I never forget my first Karen moment, and it wasn't even really a full-on Karen. I wasn't being a full-on Karen, but I did exercise my discontent uh with an apartment community that I was living in. This was like in the early 2000s. And this is when like the internet was still kind of new. And all I remember was I basically got like railroaded, and they were trying not to give me my security deposit after I had moved out and crossed state lines. They said, oh yeah, we'll put the check in the mail. And then all of a sudden they started coming up with all these crazy things that just wasn't real. And I felt very helpless because, I didn't have access to attorneys at the age of 20, nor did I have the means to be like, well, I'm going to fly back there and tell the manager off. And so like, in a space of desperation, I just sent an email, a very well worded email to the corporate headquarters. And I kid y'all not, I didn't even know that they were moving on this behalf. I looked up, it was like 2 weeks later. Not only had they sent me a check, they apologized profusely about what it was. And it was just in that moment, I said to myself, oh, wow. So this is what happens when you actually utilize your voice, when you actually express your discontent and not just talk shit in the comments, but actually do something about it, right? And I know that that's a small analogy to use, and maybe I'm comparing apples to oranges, but I feel like a lot of people complain, but they don't inject themselves in the process. They don't hold their local officials, accountable, like hold their feet to the fire, right? Because there are things that you can have happen. And to be honest, most of the issues that people have problems with are not national issues. It's local issues. So y'all upset with Kamala, who was not the president. Oh, well, you had 4 years to do this. Well, first off, she didn't because she wasn't the president. Second, the administration has actually been doing a damn good job if you look at the numbers, but I get it if you're feeling it on a personal level. But is this misplaced anger, right? Like, because what you're probably frustrated with is your alderman. What you're probably frustrated with is your local government and how they are allocating the resources that they have. That's an entirely different issue than the presidential election. And it feels like the only time that we ever really pay attention is during this period. And then we want to hoist all of our concerns, all of our frustrations on the national president, who's got a lot of other stuff to be concerned with, right? I mean, you've got the global things that are occurring. You've got national things that are happening, and you're mad because of something that's happening in your specific neighborhood, and you're misdirecting the anger, right? Because you're not really as engaged as you should be. Because really where your voice probably has the most influence is on the local level. It's your aldermans. If you're in like states where they have aldermans, or, there's some version of an alderman in most cities. I know the city I'm from, Chicago. Chicago operates different. Aldermen are kind of like mob bosses, but that's a whole nother conversation. But people in many cases are not really exercising their voice in a way that I think is commiserate with the outrage that they have, right? But when I talk about my inner Karen moment showed me that if used correctly, your voice can influence things, right? And I think that that's something that we all need to be a little bit more pronounced in. But that was a very, very long intro. I've got some folks. Oh, look. I got Renee Morgan. What's going on, Renee? Listen. Yep, look. She agreed with me. So true. I know many who did not vote. See, Renee, and that's wild to me, right? And it's like I get it on a level because, like I said, I was a conspiracy theorist before it became popular to be one, and I can still at times tap into that. I can still at times get a little frustrated at the system and knowing how it's managed. But I think I'm also realistic, right? And like I said, the main reason that I vote typically is just because too many of our ancestors have died to give us this right, and for us to not use it. And the thing is, I mean, yes, it might feel like an inconvenience. I was watching CNN, and they're interviewing people that like exit, and for me, I did early voting, but by early voting, y'all, I'm talking 24 hours. I dropped it off yesterday, right? Like, I'm not gonna make it seem like I was like really jumped in on that, but like, man, I literally walked in. They had a spot for ballot drop-offs. When I say I could have left my car running, because I shot in, dropped it off. They saw the signature, walked out, right? And so when I think about how much time and effort that took. They gave me the ballot, obviously filled it out. That took a moment because we had a 2-page ballot here in Arizona. Dropped it off, and the whole nine. I'm like, if I add up the entire time, it was what, a half an hour, 45 minutes? You know what I'm saying? But even if it took you 2 hours, even if you had to go in and register on the spot and change your address and all that other type of stuff, it's still worth it. But if you don't think that 2 hours is worth it for you, then I'm gonna be honest, man. I kind of feel like you don't have the right to talk shit for the next 4 years about how much you don't agree with the process if you are not engaged in it. You know what I mean? Like that to me is just, and I know other people have said that, but it is thank you, Prudence, for agreeing with me. Like I said, you guys, no matter what platform you're watching from, even you might be the only one in the room. I'm seeing several people are watching from multiple locations. I want you all to feel comfortable with jumping in. Oh, here we go. Would you say the lesser of two evils? I tell folks this all the time. Someone died for your, yes, yep, to have the housing, a job, to vote. Yep. Now, yep, I totally agree. Rashida Downs, early voting is a breeze, especially if you receive your ballot in the mail. Exactly, Rashida. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing, is it's almost like, you want to know something? Early voting to me is like people with good credit, right? Like let's keep it a buck. Early voting is like people with good credit, where you say to yourself, okay, so let me get this straight. If I have good credit, that means I'm probably earning a decent amount of income, or at the very least, I'm responsible, right? I can afford this thing that I'm about to buy, but I can afford it. I'm also responsible. And because of these two things, you're giving me a lower rate. You know what I mean? But then when you're like a high risk, or you ain't got no money, they taxing you out the ass. And on one level, you say to yourself, logically, it almost don't make sense, because why would I be charging the people that can't afford it more than the people that can afford it? But it's like a privilege, right? It's a privilege. If you are responsible, if you have some foresight and some vision, and you decide that, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just do this thing early, then the whole process becomes a breeze. But if you decide to wait till the last minute, it's like Christmas shopping, right? I'm notorious for doing Christmas shopping at the last minute. Right now, it works for me, right? It works for me because I can play that game pretty good, right? Like, I'm good with improv. I'm good with just, all right, just throw it all and then I make it work. But every once in a while, man, you be out there and everything that you want is gone. And the only thing you thinking is, damn, I wish I had done this earlier, right? Damn, I wish I had a plan for this. damn, I wish I had really set this thing up in a way that, made it easier for me. But if you early voted, oh man, it was a breeze. People were polite, they were comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You just walked in, you did your thing, you walked out. And that is what life is, right? That is what life is those individuals that care, those individuals that put forth the effort are always going to see results. And again, that's what I'm saying. When I look at the comment section, every time I see a person talking shit in the comments, I click on it and I can tell. Oh, yeah, you ain't registered to vote. I don't know if y'all saw it earlier today, but Waka Flocka, the one that's been running around, holding Trump's nutsack for the last couple of months, he got outed today as being registered, but never having voted for the last 2 decades. And then you say to yourself, bro, you have been a vocal mouthpiece trying to get everybody else to vote, and you yourself don't even participate in the process, right? Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense. Is it because you think you're too good to vote? You know what I'm saying? Or is it because it's easier to post a story? It's easier to go online than it is to actually be responsible and to care about the process, right? It's so much lip service. 90% of the people that got stuff to talk have never actually engaged in the process themselves. They've never given of themselves selflessly. They've never donated to anything. They've never used their voice in a way where it could actually affect change. All they're going to do is talk shit from the rafters, right? It's like the dude that never played sports, but you can cuss out LeBron for passing in the last 3 seconds. Oh, see, he ain't Jordan because Jordan would have took that shot. It's like, bro, you can't do 5 push-ups. You can't do 5 push-ups, but you sitting here talking about actual athletes that's in the game making moves, right? And that's what this election comes down to. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of this. But neither that. This particular show, I said, with it being election night, how can we playfully have a poll or do our own so you know how because I said, literally, I have the exit polls. I got CNN running live stream. So right now, Georgia, Donald Trump is at 53%. Kamala is at about 47. You know what I'm saying? So literally, I know many of us are probably watching it right now. It's I don't want to be much of the same. And it was my intention to not even jump in and be political, to be honest with you. But damn, I just can't help it. I really cannot, y'all. I'm gonna be honest. I hope y'all got a drink. Okay, we might not be here long, but if y'all ain't drinking, I guarantee you go ahead and grab yourself a drink right now, because this is one of them type of nights. Okay, this is you need to have a glass of wine or some type of libation, because this is democracy. This is. Listen, I don't even want to go there, but I want to have some fun. And so what I'm going to do is I'm about to put a link in the comment section. Now, several people have already filled out this. Oh wow. Okay, we even got some. Okay, yeah. So this is going to be fun. So I'm about to put this link in, and we're going to call this the Election Day special, right? But this is about love and relationships. So this is our own poll. You know how they do those exit polls? And they're asking all of these, registered voters, people who just left the booth, well, what was most important to you, and why did you vote, and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, let's do our own exit polls, right? Let's have some fun. Let's do our own exit polls. So I'm about to share a link with you guys, because this is a live, what do I call it? List. So as you all fill this out, I'm going to be able to see the results real time, similar to the CNN poll. It's completely anonymous, so don't think I'm gonna put you on blast. You're not gonna put on blast. But if you all are interested, so I've just shared the link to our little questionnaire, right? And I'll just share with you all some of the questions that we've been asking thus far. And like I said, it's been interesting to get some of the feedback thus far, right? And we have several responses. So the first one that I ask is, do you have a question for the room? So if there's something that you specifically want to talk about when you see this particular the form, then just ask the question. And if it's PC, then this will be a topic of conversation that we can address. I asked, what's your relationship voting record? And you got several options, right? So hold on, let me go ahead and pull this up just so I can let you guys know what our voting options are. Okay, hold on. That's funny because I did this and I almost forgot myself. Okay, so what's your relationship voting record? Loyal to one party, right? Which is a serial monogamist. Independent voter, you like to play the field. Write-in candidate, unconventional relationships. Y'all know who you are. If you like them unconventional relationships, you know who you are. Or first-time voter, which means you're new to dating. Okay, so if you're new to dating, that might be like, man, maybe you were in a long-term relationship for a period, and for whatever reason, it dissolved or you've moved on, and now you're kind of like newly into the field. Next question. How long is your relationship campaign season typically, right? So we're talking about like, when you're like how quickly do you like to move through the various stages of a relationship? So quick special election, which is kind of like I like to move fast, right? Standard primary, which is I like to take my time. I like to take my time. Full election cycle, which is I'm very cautious. If you're the cautious type where you're like, nah, I kind of like to inch my way in this, or permanent campaign, which means I'm always looking. I'm always, that like that's Trump. Trump been campaigning since 2008. Okay. He was the president and he was still doing stump speeches. Okay. Because he just likes the crowd. So if you that person, now keep in mind, this is anonymous. So I'm not going to know. Don't come up in here and give me the answers that you think I want to hear. This is anonymous. I'm not going to know. So tell the truth. If you are the type where you like attention, tell the truth. What's your biggest campaign promise you've made or received in a relationship? Okay. How likely are you to cross party lines for love, which is basically dating someone with different values, right? So even inside of the context of this relationship, like how likely are you to date someone? Like if you are a Kamala supporter, could you really date a Trump supporter? Right? Like, and just be honest. And keep in mind, I'm not just saying in general, I'm saying you like them. Like, not you're on Christian Mingle and you run across a Trump supporter and you like, no, I mean, now you feeling them or you feeling her. And then you find out, now they go towards the opposite side. Even if, like I said, if you're a Trump supporter and you're dating someone that's fully on board with Kamala, like, could you do that? How do you know when it's time to concede in a relationship, right? How do you prefer to resolve conflict? This is a multiple choice. Do you face it head on? Do you take space, then address it? Do you use humor to diffuse tension? Or do you hope it resolves itself, right? I wrote these questions. I need to take this test myself. Because hold on. So with that one, let me think. How do you prefer to resolve conflict? I think I'm more number two. I like to take space, then I address it. Yeah. And that could be, you got to be careful with that, right? Because I've dated women in the past where they were the same way. And man, I remember it was Capricorn woman. And sometimes, man, we take a little bit too much space, right? And you got to be careful with that, right? Because too much space can create other issues. But I do think that it is important to know yourself and to recognize when you're being like motivated by emotions and when emotions are about to cause you to kind of like step outside of yourself and do something that you later regret. And so I know that about me. Like I got this side in me that I've affectionately coined as the warrior. And it's a part of me where I can flip into it. And when I do, I can be a little brash. And I typically know how to control it. But when it does come out, I don't always catch it quick enough. And in those moments where I am engaged in like a romantic relationship, I have to, especially speaking with a woman, I have to be cognizant that my knee-jerk reaction is gonna cause some ruffle feathers, right? And so me knowing that, and I'll be honest, not even in just romantic relationships. I've done that business wise. I've done that business wise where I've had to peel back off of people sometimes, man, for like a month or two. And in hindsight, I'm always glad about it. I'm always appreciative of the fact that I knew better, because if I had a said something in that moment, I would have I would have not only hurt their feelings, but probably created irreparable damage. And some of these people right now, they are literally like a part of my team right now and adding great value. But I know that in the moment, in the heat of the moment, I might have said something that would have made it hard for us to move past. So because of that with me, like I tell people I don't have a short temper, but I have a quick temper, right? And what I mean by that is it takes me a long time to pop. I'm not the type where it's like, oh, you say something immediately, I just but when I do pop, I can go from 0 to 100 real quick, right? And everybody's not ready for that, and that can create issues. And so because of that, I have to I got to take space. But that's just me. I want to know how you guys feel. What's the one thing you wish you could tell your younger self about love? Okay. What's your definition of emotional baggage and how do you handle it? And you catch feelings for a friend, your move is to, there's multiple choice, confess immediately, drop subtle hints, suppress forever, or ask mutual friends for advice. Okay. So this is our little love election poll that we're doing. And I see I've got several people that are tapping in. So we're gonna have fun with this. Let me see what some of you guys are saying while I got here. Okay. Oh, you said you finished the survey. Thank you, Renee. I appreciate that. Uh, would you say? Oh, would you drink it? Okay. That's a good question. A little bit of whiskey. A little bit of whiskey. This is Oh man, it was called. I might look. If you're real curious, I can go and find out because I had a little party or a little get together a couple months back, and so everybody came in with a bottle, and so I got a lot of different types of whiskeys. My go-to is something ghetto, right? Okay, no, I take that back. I like Uncle Nearest if I'm trying to classy it up, but I'm a Jack Daniels guy. Just if I'm just at the crib slumming it or whatever. But a couple of these bourbons were rather nice, so that's what we sipping on right here. But let's go into some of these early results because like I said, some people were saying some really interesting stuff, and like I said, I see more responses. Okay, so do you have a question for the room? So one person just said no. One person straight up and down was just like, nah, I don't have no question for the room. I respect that. But someone said, did you ever vote for Trump? I don't know if that was for me or for the room. Feel free to answer that in the comments if y'all want to get political. With me, absolutely not. And that's absolutely not. But that's a whole nother, anyway. So what's your relationship voting record? Oh, okay. So this is a landslide, right? This is a landslide. This is like California. So most of you guys, 83.3% said you are loyal to one party, serial monogamous. And I think that's probably fair. I think you guys are being honest. I probably should have let everybody know online that, feel free to tell the truth. But 83% of you all said that you all are loyal to one party, serial monogamous. Cool. We've got 7.7% said of first-time voter, new to dating. Okay, so that's probably about 3 or 4 of you guys, it looks like. And so hold on, they're not giving me the sliver, how much that is. But it's got to be under 7. So that looks like that's about 6% says independent voter. You like to play the field. Okay. That's honest. I respect that. I respect that. We will see. Oh, hold on. Oh no, that's 7.7% also. Oh, okay. So first time voter 7.7, as well as independent voter. Okay, so that was 3 people on both. Okay, so we got a couple people in the thread, in the comment section that's playing the field. Okay, that's good to know. All right, we got more people tapping in. Let me see. Okay, we got one more for serial monogamy. Okay, so how is your relationship campaign season typically? Oh, wow. This is split on only two. So overwhelmingly, most people said standard primary. You like to take your time. I respect that. You like to take your time. We've got full election cycle. Some people say you're very cautious. Okay. All right. So that means that the crowd that is rocking with us right now is leaning a little more towards being conservative, right? Or just being cautious, I should say. Maybe not conservative, but being cautious. Okay. You know what? I can respect that. So we didn't have any move fast or always looking. Y'all watching. Y'all just ain't telling the truth. I don't know if I believe that, but okay. So yeah, we had standard primary. That was, yeah, that's almost 70%. And 30% said that you're very cautious. Okay. I respect that. Anybody that's watching this live, especially if you're watching through blackdoctor.org, I can understand you all probably being a little bit more, we're more mature. Okay. Okay, look at this. Oh, okay, look like I got some help. Look like we're gonna have some help here, y'all. So y'all just gotta. Mm-hmm. So, what's the biggest campaign promise you've made or received in a relationship? All right. Ooh, okay. So hold on. Wait a minute. We got some good ones here. Okay. That I wouldn't ever want kids to a man who was adamant he didn't want them. We both now have kids with other people and are not together. Wow. So that's interesting. So she said this was the biggest campaign promise, that I would never want kids to a man who was adamant he didn't want them, but they now both have kids with other people. That's interesting. That's interesting, right? I'm trying to think of how I want to approach this, because like I can respect that. One of the things that we cover a lot. One of the things that we cover a lot at Tequila Tales are like we cover dating with intention, and I understand the practice of dating with intention. I agree on some level with dating with intention. However, I push back about people who are adamant about dating with intention, like, and they kind of make it like their badge, And I'm gonna continue to be adamant about that, because while I think that understanding what your intention is important, I feel like the moment that you make it clear and upfront, you place an unnecessary degree of pressure on that relationship that would not have been present otherwise. And sometimes that can run people away. And I think this happens on the male and the female side, right? Where sometimes we have a tendency to be so like dead set on, and it happens as we age, because as we age, we become more aware of the value of our time. And so as a result, we don't want to waste any of it. We don't want to waste any of our time. And so we kind of know, like, I kind of got to let you know where I'm at and what it is that I want up front. Because in our mindset, what we're thinking is if I tell you this, at the very least, then you know where I stand and I know where you stand. And if we not on the same page, then we can keep it moving. Where I always feel this misses is the development, right? That we have a tendency sometimes to like evolve, like there you leave absolutely no space for evolution. And so in this particular comment, how I feel to say that y'all both have kids from different people and you all aren't together, I would love to get a follow-up on this, right? Like, do you think that he potentially got tricked into? Do you think it was an accident? Do you think somebody trapped him? Or do you think he just naturally evolved, right? Do you think he just engaged in a relationship, recognized the value, and now all of a sudden it's like, you know what? All right, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the other person used a different strategy. Now, I'm not saying that you should just hang out with a dude that tells you out front, I do not want kids whatsoever, right? And I can get it. If you want kids and you know that they absolutely don't, I'm not saying hang around. I think that that would be an unwise decision. But I do think that there's other areas where we can have a tendency to jump to, oh, I gotta let them know that this is what I want. I want to be married. I want to do this. I want to do that. What did New York say? I want my eggs cracked. I want my name dropped. You know what I mean? Like, okay, my newsflash: 95% of women probably want the exact same thing. I don't think you need to say that on the first, second, third date while we're getting to know one another, right? Like, it's almost like, to me, going into a job interview and asking about vacation days. I know you want a vacation. I know earning money is important to you, but it just shows a lack of coup when that becomes the topic of your conversation. It means that that's a driving, motivating factor as to why you're here. And I get it. If that's who you are, then that's what you got to say. But for people that say that and that say, I want to get married and I want to have a kid, do you not care about chemistry? Do you not care about how he treats you? Do you not care about like all these other elements? Like, yes, I get it. That is important to you. But when you ignore those things, right? And you just focus on that, what you'll end up getting is someone that can hit those benchmarks, but they're trash in all the other areas, right? And now you got to deal with that. That to me is what Trump is. There are a lot of people that are voting for Trump right now because of abortion. There are a lot of people that are voting for Trump because I'm an evangelical Christian. And it's like, okay, so the guy says two things right, and automatically you think that you ignore all the other character things and you focus in on the 2 to 3 things that he said right, because you believe that it's going to give you the outcome that you desire, but which realizes that all those other intangible things, character, right, morality, all of these other things was just as important, if not more important, than how he personally felt about abortion, right? And so it's like you make a decision because of one issue, but you're ignoring the other 10 as if that does not qualify to, you know, who they are. Okay. What do you say? What's the biggest campaign promise you've made or received in a relationship? Somebody said loyalty and commitment. Let's move in together. Yeah, that's a yeah, that moving in together, boy. That's a dicey one, right? Because not only are we gonna do that, but then we gotta question, like, you know, what's the split look like on these bills? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we moving in together and really now you just living rent free, or are we moving in together and now we're kind of like splitting up these responsibilities? But y'all didn't say that, so I'm not, you know, whatever. I'll love you forever. Okay, I will always be there for you. To be honest, no matter how hard to get, this is funny because you guys are telling me the exact promise that people made. I like this. Uh, okay, would you say to have and to hold, for richer, for poorer? See, okay, so that means marriage. Okay, I will always bring when needed at proper time. I don't 100% know what that means. Okay, here we go. How likely are you to cross party lines for love? Ooh, okay, so this is a good one. So this one was about dating someone with different values and whether or not you think you are capable of doing that. So keep in mind that this isn't just who's watching in the thread. This is everybody who is, you know, who I polled online through our social media. So what do we got? Highly unlikely, huh? Nah! Exclamation point. Not really. Damn, ain't nobody. Nah, about a 5. So somebody is middle of the. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna publish these results because these are actually pretty good. Okay, less than 10% likely for love, probably 90% for lust. Ooh, look at y'all giving me heat. Okay, and you know what? I understand that. Right? I understand that. I do, because it depends on what your intention was. If you met somebody, you out and about, y'all got a little bit of oil in your system, and you know. Now, one thing that we can do as men, and I know this, we got to be cautious, is they, you know, You never want to say something that makes, got my son here, so I got to be PG. You never want to say something that makes her decide differently in that moment, right? Like on second thought. So we've always been a little cautious of that. We've always been a little cognizant of that. But in those moments, yeah, if it's about a lust moment, I can see you saying, like, yeah, all right, we can do this for tonight, but long term, nah. So pretty much you're like a nah. If you said 10%, 10% likely for love, that's you're like the nah that I got over here. There's another nah. It would never work. Not extreme. Someone else said extremely likely. Okay. But damn, that's one. So out of like 20 responses, one person said extremely likely. And you know what? Really? You got something you want to say? What'd you get? Oh, okay. Now you ain't got nothing to say. Now that I'm passing you the mic, you ain't got nothing to say. Anyway, but you but the extremely likely. That's interesting, right? Because I've seen a lot of posts recently where people say stuff like, oh man, you're gonna unfriend me just because of my political views and da 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 da. And it's funny because I can't 100% tell, but when I do a little bit of a dive, it's normally Trump supporters that I see posting that, right? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm not even going to give us a supposition about it. But every time that I've seen that meme or I've seen someone post something that says something to the degree of almost like a frustration that you are willing to unfriend me or that you don't want to rock with me because of my political views, it's normally coming from someone that is supporting Trump. And again, if you all have your own suppositions of what that means, I'd be interested in hearing that, right? Because in this particular one, which you know what, I'll say what I think it means, just as I'm thinking about it right now. I think what that means is that in this particular election, people that are voting for Kamala are voting more along value lines, and people that are voting for Trump are voting for more personal reasons, not values, but like maybe financial, right? Or something that it's not the end of the world for them. Because for whatever reason, it's like, and I don't think that that's oh, well, no, it's because Trump supporters ain't all caught up in their emotions. Like, nah, I think it's because they know why they're voting, right? And it's not something that's really core to them. Like, they know the decision that they're making. They know they're playing Russian roulette. They might even question it themselves on a level. And so on a level, they're a little frustrated that they may lose relationships because of their unwillingness or inability to vote on their values. And I don't know what that means. I'm not going to assume that means they don't have them. I think they have them. I think that they just feel comfortable with ignoring their value structure in this particular election, right? Because I'm not going as far as to say that I'm not going to be friends with people, but I am paying attention, man. I am. Like, this to me is one of the easiest elections to vote for, and the fact that it's knotted up right now is like, it's like mind blowing to me. And I don't even mean that in this isn't a typical Republican Democrat thing, right? It's like this man is saying something specific, he is doing something specific, he is pushing a certain narrative, and there seems to be several people that are just not concerned. And it makes me, sometimes I feel like I'm soft. I'm like, damn, am I getting soft in my older years? Am I getting to the space where I could be more flippant about these things? You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk about the death of democracy, I'm like, yo, like, do we gotta go through some Hitler type shit in order for us to realize like how real this is? You know what I'm saying? And is this one of those situations where we've been so comfortable as a nation through our protections that we don't think it's possible. And maybe we need to actually see it collectively, right? Like maybe we really need to go through something like really painful collectively, similar to what the Germans did. Like when you think about post Hitler, Germany is whistling a totally different tune now, and they don't run from their painful past. They've got all kinds of signals about how horrible the Holocaust was all around Germany, because the same way we treat 9/11, when we say never forget, that's how they treat Hitler. We never want to be able to get back to that as a society. So, yeah, let's keep it in front of us. But we live in a nation that talks about critical race theory, right? We live in a nation that wants to ignore the sins from the past. We live in a nation that wants to ignore that slavery existed and that it gave one group of people an extraordinary, like, head start, and still to this day, like, they're doing everything in their power to do that Men in Black. Yeah, if you could just look into the light, like they want to they want to ignore it. They want to pretend as if it didn't happen. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous, right? Because your past is supposed to inform you. Your past is supposed to teach you lessons, right? Your past is supposed to let you know what not to do. It is literally the foundation of knowledge. Your past history is the foundation of our knowledge. If I touch something hot and I burn myself, I now know not to touch that hot thing any longer. I'm supposed to learn from past mistakes. We always say mistakes are the best teacher. So that's why we tell people, like, your failures and mistakes, they're not a bad thing if you learn from them, right? We're in a day and age where we're not learning from these mistakes. And I guess because America didn't fall off the cliff the first time, everybody's like, well, he wasn't that bad the first time. It's like if I blindfold you and I tell you to walk across a expressway, a 10-lane expressway, and through the grace of God, you didn't get hit. And I say, okay, now come back. That's what America wants to do right now. And to me, it's just like, okay, like, I really hope Kamala wins. I'm just being honest with y'all. But if she doesn't, I'm going to strap the hell in. And it's going to be fascinating to watch what happens to America for the next 4 years. And whatever it is that occurs, my only frustration is that if he were to get back in office, when we fall off the cliff collectively, I don't think that individuals that were in support of him will acknowledge the error of their ways and take accountability and say, you know what? I wish I can go back. No, I think all they're going to do is just somehow figure out a way to blame Obama. That's all they're going to do, right? We are living in a day and age, man, where people refuse to take accountability. And just as a nation, man, like that is, man, it's a very, very scary place that we're in right now, when people will make up their own facts. I don't care about your truth. Facts are facts. And the facts right now is that the economy is in a far greater space than it has been for a long time. I can understand if it's not touching you personally. And there's ways and things that can happen where you can shift that. Can't blame inflation on the Democrats. Globally, everybody was going through that, right? Like unemployment, record lows, like stock market, record highs. And then you look at the exit polls, everybody's like, we hate Biden. What has he been doing wrong other than being old? I just, it's one of these things where it's like facts don't matter to some people, right? And it's like, okay, we collectively may have to go through some very tough times before we decide to release the nonsense and focus in on like what's actually moving the needle, but nonetheless, how do you know when it's time to concede in a relationship? Someone said, when I'm not thinking rationally. That's actually really good. That's actually really good. I like that. Damn, that's actually really good, because sometimes you may not even acknowledge when you're not thinking rationally, right? What do we call it? Digmatize. Digmatized or pussy whipped, right? Regardless of whatever it is. If you lost in the sauce, in those moments, you are not thinking rationally, right? And so, oh, okay, all right. I don't even know if the person that said this came from online or if you're watching actively, but yeah, that's something else I want a little bit more of. When we are going our own separate ways on everything. Yeah, yeah, I think that's good too, right? Like there's times where we can agree. I mean, we can disagree on certain things, maybe not character morality things, but we can have civil debates on how something should be managed and just be like, well, I hope you lose, but we're still good. It's almost like couples that get together and, I'm a Bears fan and, maybe you're a Green Bay fan, right? All right, Sunday, we hating one another during that little period, but we gonna be Gucci every other time, right? But if we're not seeing eye to eye on anything and the majority of our relationship is conflict, yeah, I do agree with that. Spending time doing things without my partner more frequently. Okay, that's good. When I'm dead ass wrong. I like that. How do you know when it's time to concede in a relationship? Because see, when you ask these questions, right? It's like how you answer is also based on how you perceive the question. And so you said when I'm dead ass wrong, right? I appreciate whoever it is that said that because everybody can't admit when they dead ass wrong. Some people, I always say there's three types of people in this world: people that like to fight, people that like to be right, and people that like to win. Right? So you got people that like to fight, and when you like to fight, that's all you want. You just want to fight. I just want to fight because it's a sport. I think that's what politics is. That's why every news networks puts these damn. Honestly, the only networks that doesn't really do it, ironically enough, is MSNBC, the most liberal one of all of them. Fox News, a little bit. They can, I think both MSNBC and Fox News both know, okay, we on the edges. We ain't got to appeal to everybody. But CNN, they're supposed to be for the independents, but they get on my damn nerves sometimes because they got to put this panel in front of you. And it's like, you give us the story, and then I got to hear what like 20 people think about it. And it's just like, no one will ever admit when they're wrong. Like, can you concede when something went awry? Right? That's who I think I am as a relationship. I told my wife this. I was like, listen, and she's known this for a long time when we were just friends before we were dating, started dating, relationship. Like, she's known this for a while. I got the warrior. So I might pop off sometimes and say something in the heat of now, not never disrespectful, but just I'm demonstrative. Clearly, y'all can tell I can't stop with my hands and shit, and I'm just I'm loud, right? But I'm going to think about what it is that I've said, and I'm going to think about what it is that you said. And I'm gonna be honest, in most cases, especially with my wife, like 9 times out of 10, she's probably right. And what I mean by that, like not in a typical sense of like, oh, men are wrong, women are right, but like she's normally not even gonna come to me with something unless she's done her due diligence of assessing how I feel, understanding how I feel, but still feeling like, you know what, though, this is important to me. And so if it's something that she stands on, I know off the top, okay, I probably need to give this a little bit further, you know, assessment. And in doing so, I'm a then kind of question myself, well, Ike, were you wrong at that at all? And I'm gonna say, 80% of the time I probably am. Now that 20%, that 20% that I'm not, I'm gonna stand on it. I'm gonna stand on business now, okay? I ain't no simp out here, okay? You know what I mean? Don't think I'm out here just apologizing, you know what I mean? If I was right, I'm gonna stand on my rightness. But if I were wrong in that moment, that's just who I am. In the middle of an argument, not just with her, with anyone. I could be debating you vehemently. I do this in tequila tales all the time. I'll be playing devil's advocate, but I really kind of feel the part that I'm saying. going back and forth with, da, 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 da. And somebody will say something that I haven't thought of before that I think is brilliant. And I'm like, and I'll pause as I'm processing it. And if what they're saying, if their argument trumps mine, okay, I can see. I can see. Why are we in this space now where people feel like you got to be afraid to admit when you've made a mistake or when someone introduces something that you haven't thought of before? Like I promise y'all, man, I know I'm soapboxing, but we got to get past this. We have to get past this as a society. We got to get past this. We got to get past this I'm always right shit that we do. We have to understand when to acknowledge someone else, when to hear what someone else is saying, when to say, you know what, you're right, and I apologize. It doesn't make you less of a person, right? It actually makes you stronger. It actually makes you more intelligent. It makes you better. One of my best friends, Omar, told me this about how, like, even in his interview process, and then even after he would get jobs, one of the biggest things that he's always a big proponent of is feedback. I want to get feedback. He's like, because what I don't want to do is keep doing it the wrong way. And then you write me up or I'm getting terminated. And then when you asking me about certain things or on an exit interview, you know, I'm learning all of this stuff that I never knew before. So he asks for feedback from his managers. How many of us do that, right? Because I think with many of us, the moment that we hear feedback, we have a hard time taking criticism. We have a hard time taking constructive criticism. And I get it, right? Like sometimes it's hard to hear it in the moment. And that's where our significant others, if they know you or if they care about you or whatever, like maybe you all should have a relationship where they understand that it may take a moment for you to be able to receive it, right? But we got to get to a space where we can start hearing feedback from one another and not immediately taking it as an attack. It's just feedback. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm saying this is how I feel. And if you care about me, then you'll care about how I feel. That's one of the things that's not happening in this election process is it's like, and I think that that's what I think that that's what bothers me about Trump. Like, honestly, to be clear, Trump does not bother me. It's what he represents that bothers me. And it's what he represents to his base that bothers me and why they like him. The majority of his supporters like him because of his unapologetic nature of fuck you, this is what I want to do. Okay, I get that, right? But what if it is someone that you care about? Is it really fuck them, right? Like, at what point do you start caring about how another person feels? You know, everybody's all up in arms about pronouns and all of this other stuff. And I get it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's foolish to me on a level, right? Because we're complicating something that's very simplistic from an English language perspective. But you want to know what I go back to? If it means that much to you and I care about you, why would I have an issue with making a concession? If I really care about you, why would I have an issue with making a concession and acknowledging you the way you want to be acknowledged? It doesn't remove any money from my pockets. You know what I'm saying? It's not really hurting me. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to understand about you. You don't have to understand everything about me. But can you respect it though? Right? Can you respect it? And we're in a day and age now where it feels like people no longer want to respect one another. And that's dangerous, man. That's dangerous. And all the people that's, you know, loving Trump, they're loving Trump for the same reason that they love Twitter, because they love to troll, right? Somewhere along the lines, man, that shit became popular where it's like, we just gonna talk shit about people because it's fun, it's funny. I really don't like myself. I feel bad about me. And so I like to make other people feel bad about themselves. And you don't like being held accountable, or you don't like someone trying to sanitize you and say, hey, maybe you should care about how other people feel also, right? Like that's the stage that we're entering into. And it's sweet now because you just think this is about transgender, you know, I'm going to sex change you when I take my son to school. He going to come back a girl, like stupid stuff, right? But what happens when people stop caring about how you feel? What happens when they start minimizing how you feel about something? And it's, yeah, forget about what you think. This is how I think, right? Like, to me, that's not how a democracy runs. That's not how a system runs. And again, I don't mean soapbox, but it's that night. And depending upon how it ends, man, it's going to let me know what the next 4 years are going to look like, what these next 4 years are about to look like, and how much armor I need to have on, because Trump emboldens that state of mind of people that don't give a shit about me as a black man. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And we all waving his flag and feeling like, yeah, we a part of that. And it's like, okay, you're a part of it until you on the outskirts, until you realize that you were never a part of their group. And as far as I'm concerned, Trump ain't really got a group because he don't care about nobody. Like, everybody's neck is on the child. If he was willing to do that to his own vice president, what makes you think he's gonna be loyal to you? But anyway, when you have the question, how do you know when it's time to concede in a relationship? When you have done all that you can and you are the only one working or even willing to discuss a path forward. That's brilliant. Damn. See, this is why I like people that do connect with the Tequila Tales, right? Because, you know, like I say, with love, we all have a story to tell. That's our motto. And there is a level of like just intelligence or just conscientiousness that I think permeates not only our events, but people that connect with this energy. When the disagreements and bad days start to outweigh the good times, bars. That's me all day long. That's me all day long. Like, we can have some conflict here and there, but if we look up and the majority of our relationship is conflict, what are we fighting for? And some people, man, listen, I've heard some stories, man, of some people that are married and their entire relationship is fighting nonstop. And it's like their justification is religion. It's that God wanted this thing. And I'm like, okay, well, we clearly serve different gods. My God would not punish me like that. You know what I'm saying? Where 90% of my relationship is conflict, and I can't even really point to things that, you know what I mean? When we are fighting more than we are loving. Yep, same thing somebody else said. When I ask a simple request and get a lecture. Ooh, that's loaded. That's loaded. Okay, so somebody that said that, all right, that sounds fresh. Whoever it was that said that, that sounds fresh. When you know when it no longer has value or becomes toxic, whichever comes first. Okay. Apologizing and not correcting. Ooh. Okay, yeah. That's some personal experience right there. And I get that. That's like empty apologizing, right? Like, all right, I'm sorry. Like, that's when the person apologizes for something, but they really didn't feel like they were wrong enough to actually change their behavior. I get that. When the issue becomes unimportant to me. See, these are honest, man. Damn, these are some good questions because y'all giving me honest responses. When the issue becomes unimportant to me. Yeah, no, that's I like that one because I get that, right? Like, you fight for things that you feel are worthy of the fight. The moment, and you know what? And not to keep paralleling this to what's happening right now with like the election, but like that's like the apathetic voter. When you get to the point where you feel like, regardless of whether I vote left or right, it ain't gonna change. That's what causes people to remove themselves from the process. And it's the same way with relationships. When you stop caring, I get that. You know what I'm saying? I get that. Hold on, let me see. Consequences for ignoring. Okay. Yep. Oh, Casey in the chat. We used to call Diddy a new name every 6 months. That is cute. You have a good baby. Yes, yes. Okay, so first off, it was a he, you know what I'm saying? But thank you though. Thank you though. Yeah, yeah. No, he was definitely chilling, you know what I mean, the entire time. Um, but yeah, man, like yeah, like I said, we are in a very, very interesting space. So I said, how do you prefer to resolve conflict? So this is a pie chart. So 50% of you all, 50% said you like to face it head on. Okay. All right. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Probably a lot of fire signs in this. You know what I mean? Okay. 36% said you like to take space, then address it. Right. So if I had it jumped in, that probably would have changed it to about 38 or 40%. So would you say 40? Oh, look at this. Who is this? 7% said you like to use humor to diffuse the tension. I respect that. And another 7% said, hope it resolves itself. Again, I appreciate you all's honesty. I appreciate the honesty in these polls, right? And that just goes to just goes to show how I've always felt about this particular platform. With love, we all have a story to share. Because I feel like that's one of the things that we do a lot of is we get into the space where we feel like there's one way to be. There's one way to live life. What we're starting to learn, or hopefully what we can learn, is that no, there's multiple realities that we're all living consecutively. We just have to determine which reality best suits us. And once again, to parallel that to politics, even I have to accept that because I can sometimes get frustrated about what I think is obvious, is a slam dunk, because maybe I minimize certain issues or certain things aren't as important to me. And I feel like what's important to me, what's my truth, should be everybody's truth. And the reality of it is it's like, nah, that's not the world that we live in. And that really and truly is what a democracy is, right? It really is us having the capacity to all live in this space together and to accept one another as much as possible. And as evolved and developed as I like to believe I am, I sometimes get challenged in that moment and have to kind of correct myself. There are times where I've interacted with people, be these the sweetest, most like just good vibes, older white couple. And sometimes they'll just nonchalantly say some like Trump support and shit. And you're just like, and then I got to give them the pass because I'm just like, you're harmless and not harmless in the sense of like your vote can't cause me some discomfort, but you're not voting explicitly to harm me, right? Your intention in how you made your decision was not to cause me pain. And so there are moments where I have to accept that because we can all be opinionated and feel the way that we feel about certain things and be frustrated about certain things and hold so closely to what caused us to make our decision. And what caused you to make your decision may actually be very compelling, right? Because maybe you experienced something. We hear about these stories of like women dying on, in the labor room, or just a multitude of different things that could occur. And if you're someone that's connected to that, or you're someone that's personally experienced it, or you're someone that's considering having a child, and these issues are incredibly important to you, then yeah, it is personal. This ain't just, well, I kind of, I had a little bit more money in my pocket when he was in office. So, you know what I'm saying? Nah, for you, this feels like life or death. For them, it's, yeah, I got an extra $2,000 when he was in office. And, I remember, man, we had a couple of nights where we had crab leg nights. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody had their PPP loans and everybody had their money and we was kicking it because it was a pandemic and we wasn't kicking it outside. So we had more money in our pockets and we was kicking it at the house a lot. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to deal with inflation because nobody was driving. So gas was cheaper. You know, Trump's economy was better. Even though the economy was falling off of a cliff, you personally felt better, right? I can understand how you could view your vote as something that's not life or death, but someone else who does, man, this ain't a game for them, right? This ain't a game for them. And both of you guys are right. Nobody's wrong in this situation because for you, this is not a big issue. For you, how you vote may not affect your world. You know what I mean? It's just like if somebody ever had someone that uh, lost someone because of drunk driving. You're very sensitive about people getting behind the wheel of a car after even having just drank one beer, right? Because for you, you lost your brother because of a drunk driver. You lost your mother because of a drunk driver. So I'm passionate about this. And no, I'm not going to be friends with you. I'm going to snatch the keys and we'll fist fight before I watch you get behind the wheel of that car inebriated. But if I've never experienced that, of course I can afford to be flippant. Of course I can be like, well, I mean, shit, I drive drunk all the time, and that's the world. That ain't America. That ain't society. That's the world, and so it's learning that we all inhabit this space together, and I guess how, it's being aware of that. And to go back to an earlier space when, I talked about like how people kind of felt like, man, like losing friends over your voting preferences, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, that's why I say, like, I have to sometimes kind of like check myself because there are certain values that I have and certain things about me that I take very seriously. And so that is what this election is hinged upon to me. But my values ain't everybody else's values, and that's okay. Taking my own medicine, right? That's okay. I still hope he loses. What's the one thing you wish you could tell your younger self about love? We're getting towards the end. Don't move for a man, not ever. Okay, that's good. Damn, y'all are giving the heat. Trust no one. Trust no one. You can't say that. Oh, don't say that. Oh, you gotta trust somebody. But I get it. How about only trust those who have earned it, right? Trust no one. Man, that sounds very dystopian. Keep track keep track of the good and the bad. Okay, I can get that. Steer clear. I don't even know what that means, but that sounds loaded. You know what? I need to start telling people like give context. If you're gonna give less than 3 words, give context. Because that sounds like a whole ass Tyler Perry episode. Steer clear. I don't even know what that means. Take your time and trust your gut, intuition, etc. Red flags start out as fuchsia or something or some pretty color you love. Ooh, that sounds deep. And they are right about that. And I think that kind of goes back into that space of like how we just ignore things like, when the sex is good, you know what I'm saying? How like how easy it is for us to lie to ourselves, and red flags we think are cute. Oh, that's kind of cute. How you do that? Like little toxic traits and shit. You know what I'm saying? How he get jealous and everything, and it make you feel good because it make you feel wanted until he start coming up upside your head, and you like, wait a minute, where did this come from? And it's like, girl, he's been telling you that he's controlling, and he don't want you to go out with your girls ever. And you thought it was cute because he just wanted to spend time with you until you get to year 2 or year 3. And now it's masterized into something that's much more dangerous. So yeah, people will lie to get what they want. Always listen to your gut and not necessarily how they make you feel. Okay. It's not a fairy tale or rom-com. It's not easy or a fairy tale as they make it seem. Wait patiently and have them show you who you believe them to be. Okay. If he is the one, wait a minute. He is the one. neither is he nor he. Okay. Okay. This is literally what this is. He is the one, comma, neither is he, comma, nor he, period. LOL. Okay. See, you knew you was on some bullshit when I don't even know what that means. Whatever. Always believe the person when they show you who they are the first time. Okay. Love yourself more than you love anyone else. Ooh, great one. Great one to end that segment on. Okay. All right. We got the last two. What's your definition of emotional baggage and how do you handle it? Someone said, someone causing you issues with moving forward in your life. Talk to someone who is helpful or trained in emotional baggage. That's good. In our last show, which was the collaboration that I did with my good friend, Krishan Lampley of Love Corkscrew, we had a segment where there was a meme that, I had spoken about. And some of you guys may have seen it. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because it was I thought it was interesting. And it kind of did the rounds. It surprisingly worked its way around social media, and several people, hold on, I think this is it. Yeah, it was this one right here. So it said, my friend got engaged in May this year, and their traditional wedding was meant to be in November. She called me yesterday in tears to tell me that the engagement had been called off. She got a new job last month, and the salary is so huge that she will earn 3 times more than the guy. He was uncomfortable with it and asked her to reject it or the engagement would be called off. He said she would not respect him if she earns that much. All efforts to convince him proved ineffective, and she agreed to call the engagement off. I can't believe this is happening in 2024. So this was a dude that shared this. I shared that because it kind of fit inside the context of the conversation that we were having. The responses were enlightening, right? And for me, being raised the way that I was raised and raised around not only a lot of successful women, but strong women, I've never been intimidated by what a woman is earning, right? Like I've been in relationships where I out earn them. Greater majority, they were probably out earning my artist ass, right? But in terms of how we vibe, totally different. Like I've never felt taken advantage of. I've never felt belittled. You know what I'm saying? Like they knew and treated me as the man. And in many cases, leaned into the areas where I was a leader in. And notice I said lean into the areas I was a leader in, not just like acquiesce to my leadership, which is the thing that we do nowadays, where it's like one person's word is finite. And it's like, bro, maybe you're great at fixing shit around the house. Maybe you're really poor at finances. No way you're going to have a girlfriend, a woman, a wife who's astute in finances. Maybe she's an accountant and you're the one that's balancing the books. That would literally make you stupid. You would literally be the dumbest man on the planet if you cannot acquiesce to someone else's strength in a particular area because I'm the man and I need to do this. You know what I'm saying? So to me, the best relationships are the one where we recognize the areas that we lead in and we acquiesce to that person. Right now, I'm not saying you have no input. Yeah, you still give your input. But, when I first started dating Casey, like she was like literally the vice president of a bank. I'm not about to tell you nothing about investments. I called her financial bait. I'm not about to sit up in here and tell you. I don't know. I know a little something about a little something, but she'd be stupid if she let me be the sole person over our finances because I watched a couple YouTube videos. You know what I mean? Like that's stupid, right? But the comments that we got from people, and I will post this content. I've just been very busy. I've had an opportunity to, man. It was a lot of people said some stuff that even made me, like I said earlier, I had to kind of step back and be like, oh shit. Like, all right, I didn't consider that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a point. You know what I mean? Like, maybe my man calling out the marriage wasn't crazy. You know what I mean? Because other people, like they shared various uh like scenarios that made me realize, okay, yeah, they could possibly have a point. You know what I mean? So I get that. Bringing in trauma from old relationships. Okay, we're talking about emotional baggage. References to previous relationships. Okay. Now with that one, again, if I was talking to someone live, I would like to know, are we talking about like never, or are we talking about like excessive? Because sometimes people can do that excessively, right? They kind of can get to a space where everything that they talk about is from like their ex, and it makes you kind of feel like you're not over her or over him, right? But if I was got out of a relationship that was multiple years, once again, you want me to just take the Men in Black, like just ignore history and pretend like I don't know? I never had this relationship. I never experienced anything with this relationship, and I'm not even talking about like saying it like, man, she used to make the best oxtails. Like if you do that, then you stupid, right? But if I'm referencing a past experience to say, hey, this is what happened here, and this is how I reacted, that gives me context. I want to hear that about you, right? I need to know about your past. See, this is what I was saying a moment ago. Like, we live in a day and age where people want to divorce themselves from the past, and the past is supposed to teach us lessons. So if you've had unsuccessful relationships in the past, then tell me about the shit that you loved. Tell me about the stuff that you didn't like so that I can then know, don't do that, right? One of the things that I could do very easily that Casey let me know in the early stage of even us just being friends. Hey, yeah, so one of the things that I don't like, and it wasn't even because I did it, but she just let me know she don't like when people do this. And it's something that I could very easily do. And I knew, don't do this. She was like, you know, everybody makes mistakes. We all make mistakes in relationships. That's fine. But if you ever need to like tell me about something, tell me about it, but don't harp on it. Like when you start harping on it, then I'm just gonna check out and blah blah blah. And this is early stage. She just said that like not even to me, just like this is how I am in relations when we just like friend zone in one another. And that stuck with me. And I knew, like, okay, all right, because sometimes on my Virgo, I can lean on something. You know what I mean? Like, you made your point. Now you're gonna beat the hell out of this dead horse, right? And she let me know, don't beat the hell out of that dead horse, because if you do, we gonna have issues. And that stuck with me to this day. And knowing, all right, you only gotta tell her once. Casey needs to hear it once. You tell her any more, you're beating a dead horse. And now she's about to tune out. And what you were hoping was going to happen, which is, oh, I'm letting you know how I feel and I'm giving you multiple examples. Now she's tuned you out, and she might not do none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So tell her once, trust that she's going to hear it, and move the hell on. Checkmate. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to be speaking about our past so that we can inform our current partner our likes, our dislikes, and just what we've learned, because relationships are a mirror into who you are. So you don't even know what you like and what you don't like until you experience it in a relationship. But if I'm in a relationship, I gotta be scared to share it with you, right? Because, oh, if I share it with you, then, oh, you might get envious. Let that go, right? I'm here with you right now. I'm sharing something with you as an adult, something that happened in the past. Now, like again, if they getting explicit and they like, man, the way she used to suck my toes, don't nobody need to know that, right? Keep that to yourself and make a suggestion. Never share what someone did in the past as a means of saying, and this is why I don't want to rock with you, right? But if it's just casual, like conversation, or you're speaking about a past situation that occurred or whatever, like there's no way you've had a multiple year relationship with someone you did not have experiences and it does not find its way into your conversation unless you're censoring your conversation, in which case, that's a whole nother thing. Not taking the time to digest, learn, or heal from trauma, stuffing it deep inside and subconsciously projecting to your new partner, believing you're okay. That's deep. That sounds like somebody that's had some therapy. Childhood and relationship trauma that you release onto people that had no part in making that trauma. If they aren't willing to get help, it's a deal breaker. Damn, that's good. That's good. I like that. I don't know if the people who commented on this are inside of this thread or if y'all was just hitting me with heat, because each one of these is deep enough to be a topic of conversation on its own, because that is real. And we are in this new day and age where like trauma and like being aware of it and being aware of like our past and stuff like that. And we kind of get into this space where it's like we want to talk about it, but we don't want to heal beyond it. And so I'm with you on that. Like, yeah, tell me about the stuff in the past that didn't work, but what are you doing actively to move past it? I'm with you on that. Reactions to situations, very succinct. Carrying the problems emotionally from one relationship to the next. I try to help them through it as long as it's not toxic. Okay. A person who is not healed from the past, holding on to past hurts and traumas. I handle it by going to therapy, reading books, and prayer. Damn, man, listen. Thank y'all for all the people that decided to jump up in this and say this. And this was the last one. You catch feelings for a friend, your move is too. So this is a fun way to end, right? Because this is literally, oh shit, this is literally almost a split poll, right? Oh wow, that was a great one to end on. Okay, so I said this is 20 responses. You catch feelings for a friend, your move is too. So 35.7% of you guys said suppress forever. Suppress forever, right? So if your best friend is somebody you feeling, you're just gonna suppress that. What if your best friend is your like? See that shit. You know what? Okay, all right. This that because this the our next show is called "Can We Be Friends?" Right. So this one right here is gonna be interesting. But anyway, all right. So 21.4% of you guys said ask mutual friends for advice. Uh 21.4% of you guys said confess immediately. Uh Oh, and another 21.4% said drop subtle hints. Oh, that's dope. This was almost split like I cannot believe that on the last question the pie chart almost went like that, right? This is like a hanging chad right now, okay? I might have to do a recount. That is so. Oh, this is fun. Oh, that is. Oh, for so many reasons, this is going to be so good. So the next show, I haven't even posted yet. I'm gonna post it in 2 days. Uh, just because I didn't even want to compete with this election stuff, but it's a friendsgiving thing, and it's going to be called "Can We Be Friends?" And so a bit of it is going to deal with, obviously friendship themes, friendsgiving themes. It's going to deal with post-election vibes, right? Because probably by the time of the election, somebody's going to be really happy, somebody's going to be really pissed. And inside of the mix, Black people are not a monolith. And even though, we get a very mixed demographic here in Arizona, still predominantly Blacks. But Arizona Black people, man, they a little different. You know what I'm saying? So you never know who is going, to show up and how they're going to feel. And there's going to be a point where, regardless of who wins, we're going to have to figure out how we, vibe with one another, how we interact. And so this is interesting, right? Like, because that's one of the biggest questions that I ask people is like, as adults, where do adults go to forge platonic friendships? Like, not just with the same sex, but with the opposite sex also. Like, I feel like that's something that we spend so many years being afraid of the friend zone. that now we're in a space where we just are not friends with one another any longer. And I feel like that's something that collectively, as a society, as a culture, we're going to have to get better with. Right? We're going to have to get better with that. And that's people in relationships and people outside of relationships. We're going to have to figure out how can we move forward and benefit from what we mutually add to one another, because I feel like men are dramatically benefited from the presence and relationships that we have with women. We just are masculine energy, like you guys are the yin to our yang, or vice versa, right? And the same with women, they benefit from just our pure presence, our counsel, our friendship, and everything can't always be drawn along these lines of whether or not we smash. You know what I'm saying? And so, these are some of the things that I personally want to address moving forward. But this particular, this is fun. And like I said, I will publish the results because results are still moving in. And so look, it just changed. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, so another person said suppress forever. Somebody else just filled it out. And now it's suppressed forever. So now it's not the point this, point that. Now it's 40% on suppressed forever, 20 on all the other ones. Oh, this is fun. So I'm going to leave that poll up. It's going to be up over the next 24 hours. And I'm going to publish all of these results on our page. You guys, I went a little bit longer than I expected. The goal was to try to pull some of you guys into this conversation. You know what I'm saying? But what is fun is just that a lot of you guys participated, and I see a lot of you guys are still hanging out and allowing me to just chatter. Yeah, and we're gonna start doing it more often. I will share that much, not only through blackdoctor.org, but through the Tequila Tales. However, before I do anything, before we leave, one of these things that I'm definitely gonna do, because this is something that I've been trying to do a lot of. So for those of you all that don't know, we're about to hit the road. Okay, so the Tequila Tales is more than likely coming to a city that will be near you, especially in 2025. And whether it is under the banner of the Tequila Tales or under the banner of Wine and Love, which is my collaborative venture with, once again, my great friend, which, by the way, because this is I think the show that I've had since the Wine and Love show was incredible. Like I started to just show y'all the content from that, but I'm kind of holding it off for a moment. It was dope. You know what I mean? First off, Krishan Lampley, Love Corkscrew, we sold out of her wine in Arizona. So the event was a success, right? And as a result, all the Total Wines have had to re-up. She's gotten new establishments that are now carrying her wine as a result. And, a lot of people are now introduced to this brand that she's built that, to me, is just incredible. Like, her story, everything about it has been phenomenal. And we've always done Wine and Loves. For those of you all that don't know, before it was Tequila Tales, it was Wine and Love. So she and I have a shared story. Before there was Love Corkscrew, there was Wine and Love. And so for both of us, it is still a brand that we hold near and dear. And because of how successful this event was, it just the vibes, we were like, okay, we're not only going to do it again here in Phoenix, we're going to definitely have a few in Chicago, but we're going to expand it. So Atlanta, LA, Texas is going to see one. Like, I mean, we're already plotting where it's going to be. However, if you're watching this now, or you're watching this stream later and you're like, oh, I want to have one here. Look, here, look. Here go Casey. How do we find you? Oh, listen, I'm telling you, man. That's why that's why you need a partner, man. That's why you need a partner. Well, Casey, let me tell you how you find us, okay? I am going to first and foremost share with you guys. So if you all look inside the link I've just shared a link that shows the inner circle. Many of you guys are already on the inner circle. I want you all to sign up for this list. It may seem non-important, inconsequential, but this is how data works, right? Like the more people that I have signed up for this list, it lets me know what city you're from, and it lets me know where we need to concentrate the attention towards. It's not that the smaller cities aren't important, but it's not cost effective in this early stage of us expanding that I go out to Charlotte if I only have 10, 15 names from Charlotte, right? So once we hit certain numbers, now it justifies, okay, they're ready for us to pull up and for us to be able to experience this live, right? And so I encourage you guys, if you all are not a part of the inner circle, it's no cost to you. You will get an occasional text message, but the text message is only of events or special discounts or free tickets that are happening in your area. So if you're in, Miami and we're not having a show in Miami, I'm not blowing up your inbox. But if you're in Arizona and we're pretty active here, you're probably going to get a few more text messages, right? Like, and not a lot. Like we keep it, basic, but this is just our way of being able to stay in better contact with you. Because when it comes to marketing, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. It doesn't matter if you give me your email address or any of these things. I can tell by looking at the returns from this stuff that sometimes when we send it out, even from people that wanted to know about it, it goes to your spam folder or you miss it or whatever. But one thing about SMS, when I send it, if you got a text message, even if you don't open it up, you're going to look at it. Oh, okay. I'm still getting text messages from ATL clubs, and I ain't lived in ATL in close to 20 years, right? But I still know what's popping on certain nights because I just haven't pushed stop yet. I don't even know why. Maybe I'll do it after I get off of here. But I'm just saying that to say I become aware of what's popping in certain areas when I get it via text message. So I'm not going to take advantage of it, but it becomes important that if you want to stay tapped in when we're coming to your area because you want to experience the Tequila Tales live, that you become a member of the inner circle. Also, because when Casey was asking, well, how do we, get in touch with you? I think she means a little bit more than just that, right? Sometimes, if you guys have been sitting here hearing me talk, randomly, my thoughts, there are times where people may feel like, I like the way he thinks. He should come and speak at the so and so, right? Or I like the way he thinks. I want to run an idea past him. Or I like the way he thinks. Got some shit on my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got a therapist because I'm not a therapist, to be clear. This is not therapy. But there are times where that you like the way that my mind vibrates and you want access. And I've been told by a lot of friends of mine, like, you need to start being a little bit more like demonstrative and more forthright with providing people access to you. And I'll be honest, I've fallen into some incredible. I remember I was moderating a discussion with BMW C-suite executives like CEO, COO, all these other people. And it came from a brother that I'm close with now, but in Chicago, who just reached out to me and asked me, hey, there's this thing that's happening that I think that you could add value. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of the country, but I think you could actually do this better than me. Are you interested? And to this day, I still don't even know what compelled him to put me in that space. But the results of that particular evening were incredible. Not only the feedback that I got from all the executives, but just even the experience. Also the paycheck. It was kind of sweet. And I was like, yo, I didn't even market myself like that. But I was like, how'd you know about that? He was like, well, I knew about Wine and Love from the 3Ps art gallery. Like, that's how long ago this was. It was like 3Ps art gallery. blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I just figured that you could do this. Now, he didn't know I do this thing, but it was one of those moments where I realized when people are aware of not only who you are, but your willingness to be utilized and to add value, that's when opportunities start to find their way to you. And so this is really more about that. I want to be more forthright with that and not be so exclusive to where it's people got to be sending me random DMs and stuff like, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z? Nah, I'm going to make this known. So with this, I want you guys to know that if you guys feel like talking, I am available, right? So with that being said, I put that in the link. Don't feel like you gotta jump in and grab one of the packages or anything like that. Like, nah. If you don't know, you know, we've got consultations where we can figure out whether or not I am who you were looking for to help you get to whatever that next stage is in your development, right? Like, I offer a free consultative session where we can determine whether or not my insights from marketing and just communication and relationship building can assist you in achieving whatever your objectives are, right? So I do want you all to know that that is available. But with that being said, you guys, like, thank you for allowing me to wax poetic. I'm almost scared to shoot back over here to CNN and just see the calamity that is our democracy. But thank you guys for being my reprieve this evening, and thank you all for participating in the poll. You know what I mean? That was fun, man. I mean, to see that many people like tuning in and like y'all literally, I just posted it like 2 hours ago, right? So to already have like over 20 responses, it'll be interesting to see how different it looks inside the next 24 hours. If you're not already following us on our social media platforms, be certain to follow the Tequila Tales Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, because like I said, I'm about to start doing this more often. Not daily just yet, but definitely weekly, potentially bi-weekly, because it's a muscle that I not only need to continue to exercise, but that I enjoy. And I just enjoy connecting and collaborating with you guys. So you all, thank you for participating. Thank you for your continued support and just love and involvement, right? And listen, for real, y'all. Like, regardless of how this all plays out, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay, right? Regardless of what side of the fence that you all fall on, we're gonna be okay. As long as we are aware of what's important to us, uh, and what our values are. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold tight to that. But with that being said, I do hope that my candidate wins. And until the next time.